All right, guys, so we're going to finish up the note sheet from yesterday today. Now, what we covered yesterday was two different types of functions. You can talk about it after class. Now, guys, the two functions we talked about yesterday, one of them was our vertex form. Y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. For the vertex is the point h comma k, and our axis of symmetry is the point, or the equation, x is equal to x is equal to h. So this is the first one we covered. Yes? And we felt pretty comfortable with this here because finding the vertex or axis of symmetry is fine. Now the other one we covered was y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And this was our standard form. Because we'll pick up here in a second. I'm just adding this in. And we said that the vertex was given to us by the equation negative b over 2a comma f of negative b over 2a. Because this was the equation for the vertex. And our axis of symmetry is the equation x is equal to negative b over 2a. And really, this is all we covered, or kind of the main two equations we covered yesterday. Guys. Now, the one we're covering today, we're starting off with and finishing this set of slides with, is this equation here. This equation here. So you're probably going to need to turn a page or two ahead from where you're at. Now, this here, we call this the X-Intercept form. This is the X-Intercept form of this equation. Primarily because, well, the value of P and Q here give us the X values of the X-intercept, where it's going to cross the X-axis. And those points can be written as P comma 0 and Q comma 0. Now, whenever we write the X-intercept, we have to write it as an ordered pair. We can't just write the value P and Q. It has to be a point. So we have to use our parentheses, the value of P, comma 0, in parentheses, as well as with Q. We have to write it as an ordered pair. Now, the other part is the axis of symmetry, which is given to us by the equation x is equal to P plus Q over 2. Now, it also works out that the vertex is given to us by the equation P plus Q over 2, comma f of P plus Q over 2. Yep. Guys, Brennan, back one. Huh? Guys, we're splitting you two apart. Logan, scoot up. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yep. Guys. F of P plus Q over 2.
Long edge or short edge?
Long edge.
Which printer is this going to?
The one it's selected to. So it'll go to Tiffany. So we're going to find these points here. And we look at our first example of this here, it's going to make a little more sense once we see this. Now, the first thing we want to find are the x-intercepts. And the general form is going to be our a times x minus p times x minus q. And the x-intercepts are our 2 points. And what they're telling us is that this is p comma 0 and q comma 0. So if we know the value of p and q, we can plug it in to these here and find the x-intercepts. Thank you. Now, right, so this is, because this is a different formula, different form of the equation. So guys, what's the value of p and what's the value of q for this here? What's, yes. And then q is 1. Because again, we're inside those parentheses, it's going to come out as the opposite sign. Because since we have plus 3 inside the parentheses, it's coming out as minus 3. Since we have minus 1 inside the parentheses, it's coming out as positive. Does it really matter which one I assigned as p and q? No. All I've got to do is make sure I pick one as p and the other one is q. So, for this first one here, we can say that this is negative 3, and the other one is 1, 0. And really, for any x-intercept, we should always get at least half of it, because the y value of the x-intercept is always going to be 0. Whereas for the x-intercept, the y value will always be 0. Questions on this so far? Now we need to find the vertex. It is part of the answer. Now the vertex is given to us in the form of p plus q over 2, comma, f of p plus q over 2. So really the first thing we need to find is the value of p plus q divided by 2. Well, we already know the values of p and q. Values of p and q are negative 3 and 1. So we're saying negative 3 plus 1 divided by 2. And again, at this point here, we can plug this all into the calculator. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Negative 1. We good? So we found the x value of the vertex is negative 1. Well, what was the axis of symmetry for this here? Axis of symmetry was given to us by the equation x equals. So it said x is equal to p plus q all over 2, yes? Did we find out what that value was? Because the x value of the vertex was our p plus q over 2, yes? That's the same. Because p plus q, this here, let me get a highlighter. Because this equation and that one there are the same thing, aren't they? P plus q over 2. So whatever that x value of the vertex is will also be the same value we get with the axis of symmetry. Any questions on how we found the axis of symmetry or the x-intercept or the x value of the vertex so far? Now we just need to find the y value of the vertex. Well, this f of p plus q over 2 should look familiar because we dealt with something similar to it yesterday. Because for our standard form, the vertex was negative b over 2a, comma, f of negative b over 2a, yes? We're going to do a similar thing here. Because once we've found this p plus q over 2, we're just plugging it back into the function. So that means we're plugging -1 back into this here. So that means we would have, Logan?
I'm sorry. I got my too much.
Yes. 2 times -1 plus 3 times -1 minus 1. We're plugging this back into the function. And now all we need to do is to simplify this. So we could type all this in the calculator and do it that way. If we do this by hand, well, -1 plus 3 is 2. -1 minus 1 is -2. Now -2 times 2 is -4. And we have it multiplied by -2. And -4 times -2 is 8. So our vertex is the point -1, 8. Questions on this here? Any question on anything we've done so far?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the next one. So again, for this one here, we want to label or identify the x-intercepts, our vertex in the axis of symmetry. Now the general form for this here is our a times x minus p times x minus q. And the x-intercept is going to be 2 ordered pairs. And it's given to us by the form of p comma 0 and q comma 0. So we know for certain the y values for both of these are going to be 0 and 0. Huh? I'm just not using it. Now what's the value of p and q? Almost. It's just 4. And the 2 is -2. Because again, we have to flip that sign. It's the opposite of what we think. Since it's x minus 4 inside, it comes out as positive. Since it's x plus 2 inside the parentheses, it comes out as negative. Now we need to find the vertex and also our axis of symmetry. Now for our vertex, we have our p plus q over 2 comma f of p plus q over 2. And the axis of symmetry is given to us by the equation x equals p plus q over 2. So we need to find what? We need to find out what p plus q over 2 is. Now, to calculate that, we just need to plug p and q. Let's leave that alone for now. Thank you. Is. Well, we already found p and q. P and q are. So we take 4 plus -2 over 2. Yes, because 4 plus -2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the x value of the vertex is, we also know for the axis of symmetry, x is equal to 1. So the last thing we need to do is what? Plug it back in. So that's going to be -1/3 times -4 times 1 plus Now our 1 minus 4 is going to be, and our 1 plus 2 is. Now we multiply these together, we can say negative 1/3 times negative 3. The negative and negative would make a positive, and 1/3 times 3 is 1, because it would be 3 over 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. And lastly, we're going to do 1 times 3, which is, so the vertex is the point 1, 3. Any questions on this here? Any questions on how we found the x-intercept, the vertex, or axis of symmetry? Questions on this here? Let's look at one more of these here, and then I'm going to have you work on the assignment. So if we look at this here, we're wanting to find the x-intercepts, the vertex, and the axis of symmetry. Now we know for the x-intercepts, the y values are going to be 0 and 0. 0 and 0. And the values that go into these here are going to be p and q. So -1 and -5. Since it's +1, it comes out as -1. Since it's +5, it comes out as -5. Now we need to find the x value of the vertex. And we can find that with our p plus q over 2. Well, the p and q values are -1 plus -5 over 2. -1 plus -5 is -6. And -6 divided by 2 is, and that's going to be the x value of the, and the axis of symmetry is going to be x is equal to -3. Those two will always match when we have it as y equals, or f of x equals. And last but not least, we've got to just plug this back into the equation to find the y value. We are -3 plus 1 times -3 plus 5. Negative. Well, -3 plus 1 is -2. -3 plus 5 is. Now we need to multiply these together. So we could say the -2 times 2. And -2 times 2 is negative. And we apply the negative to the -4, we get, so the y value is 4. Questions on this here? And that is it. Your assignment is on page 75, 3 through 9 odd. So on 3 through 9 odd, you're not graphing, but you still need to identify the vertex and axis of symmetry. On 15 through 18, you're matching up the correct graph with its function. The 4 graphs are already provided. You're labeling A, B, C, D to which one it matches with. You can use the axis of symmetry to determine which one it connects to. Nope. All. Yep. Because unless it says odd right after it or before that next comma, it's going to be all. So 15 through 18, all. 21 through 29, odd. And again, for these here, you're identifying the vertex and axis of symmetry. You do not have to graph it. And then 33, you're identifying the error and correcting it. This one here, the error is pretty easy to state what it is, what they did wrong. 53, 55, and 56, you don't have to graph these, but you're identifying the x-intercepts, vertex, and axis of symmetry. So you guys have the rest of the hour to work on this here. There's a good chance you could probably either get it pretty much all the way done or finished.